Listener discretion is advised.
It's time for another Steel Revolution podcast. Please keep in mind that the opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the individuals, and they do not reflect any official view of the United Steelworkers, USW Local 105, or its officers or sub-board members for officers. Now, from the banks of the mighty Mississippi River, this is Steel Revolution.
Hello, podcast listeners, and welcome to Steel Revolution 113.
Oh, yeah, 113.
Thanks, Shawn.
That's what I do.
I'm Roy Hutt.
Shawn Geisens.
Lee Schaefer.
And apparently I'm the princess, Mike Nicholas.
Mike, I didn't see you here.
Yeah.
What was that again, Mike?
And apparently I'm the princess, Mike Nicholas.
Oh, okay, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Well, let's dive into the local news. Back on the 10th, we welcomed around 16 new hires to the plant. They went mainly to plate mill, IPS, rolling, and I think we had one roll shop guy.
Yep.
And everybody signed cards, so that's good. So welcome those folks to the plant, and watch out for them. Help them be safe. Train them like the job depends on it.
Yeah.
Speaking of a job, state of the plant. Yeah. I thought we were going to do something, but no, I don't think so.
Okay.
We should have did like the White House, so, like the State of the Union.
Is that copyrighted?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
You think they'll sue us?
No.
I hope they have better things to worry about than what we're playing on our podcast.
Yeah. Oh, geez. So the plant as a whole, they're going to be watching for PPE, so make sure you're wearing your PPE. But since the coaches and everybody else is going to be out of their office, this is a great opportunity for you guys to bring up safety issues and production issues. So when your coach is out on the floor, I hear they're having currently when somebody's out there and they talk about whatever it is, they're having some good discussions out on the plant on things that aren't getting fixed, and wondering why you're worried about PPE when there's stuff like electrical panels getting water on them and so on and so forth. Yep. So please continue to let them know what your issues are so we can get some stuff fixed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to go along with that, Lee, you brought up, or you mentioned that Ingot seems to be heading in the right direction.
Yeah, we've kind of turned things around, I guess, if you want to call it that, or at least, like I said, going in the right direction. We've done a good job of, being behind, and now we're ahead a little bit. So, don't want to lose focus. Keep doing a good job. The off analysis I thought I saw the other day was 2 point something. So, continue to mark scrap properly. In the works, they put a thing on how to mark scrap properly and from each department. So make sure you're doing that so we can avoid off analysis in the ingot plant and keep going forward with some good numbers.
Yeah, and the one thing that we were told that it doesn't take a whole lot to be off analysis. No. I mean, it's a small fraction of the entire, what would you call that, the metal going into the drop or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends. I mean, there's some stuff we can do corrections on to get it right, but when you have a whole different series of alloys going into something, it's hard to get it back on grade. So
yeah, I mean, we also brought up today during our meeting that, how can you expect people to do the small stuff when you don't take the big stuff seriously? Yeah. So, that's what I mean. Everything is important. I mean, if you don't have a glove on and something happens, I mean, there was a injury to someone there in the labs that involved a saw, and people down there thought, hey, there's probably some of the reason why it wasn't worse was because the guy was wearing gloves. So, there's do we have to do the small things? Yes. At the same time, we've conveyed what we think our membership is saying, which, well, wait a minute, what about all this big stuff I turn in?
Right.
Everything's important. We all know of somebody that's been hurt out here, and even somebody getting cut on the hand like that. I mean, they may not be able to open a jar right away while that heals. Grip a football, do whatever. Even the simplest and smallest things can impact your life, and you certainly don't want that. And we've talked about before, you don't want this company directing your care either. So
Right,
do what you need to do to be safe. That includes your wearing earplugs. I mean, if we didn't have them, I bet everybody'd be screaming, well, we don't have them, you don't care about our hearing. But now that we have them, take advantage and wear them. If you can't hear later on, that might be your grandkid you can't hear. So do what you need to do. Take the time to do the right thing. And like I said, also, but make sure you guys got an opportunity. Push back on them, and then get with your union reps so they can hold their feet to the fire.
Yep.
If you're going to push back on us, we're going to push back on you to make sure you're doing what you need to do.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to, do it respectfully, but that's what we need to be doing.
Yeah, and I'll say this. So we have a lot of, I'm sure, across the plant, new coaches. Take the time to explain, too, what the issues are. Not just, I don't want it just a complaint session. Maybe explain to the coach who's new and may not know the process. Tell them why it's important and how that process works with that, whatever piece of equipment or whatever that needs to be fixed.
Absolutely. The Halloween parade will be on Sunday. Parade starts at 2 p.m. We will be at our spot or our staging area at 12:30. We're going to try to get down there early, get a spot. People that are down there, it's going to be a little bit of a long day, so they'll probably get lunch. We will post something around 12:30 on Facebook a little bit before saying, hey, here's our spot. Meet us here. Before the parade, we'll be throwing out candy and some extra T-shirts we had down here. And anyway, it'd be a good time. We got usually there was a lot of people there last time. Don't know if it'll be different because of the timing, but the weather should be a lot better.
Yeah.
Should be spooktacular, right?
Thanks, Shawn.
Yeah. That's the joke meister.
Thank you.
You need to start saying that when you introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Engineer, joke meister.
Nice. We will have free T-shirts for anyone that participates in the parade too. We got those yesterday, so we'll have them available down at the parade.
Good looking shirt, Lee. Good
Yeah,
job.
yeah, thanks. Came out pretty good.
Spooktacular?
See, I don't know if that's good or not.
Oh, that's good.
Okay,
All right.
well then I think it's spectacular.
Thanks, Lee.
I don't know if people are going to stay with us.
Right.
No. Reminder, open enrollment is started, and it goes through the
4th of November.
It goes through the 4th of November. Make your selections there. A reminder, if you had the voluntary insurance, it'll automatically roll over if you do nothing this year, but your flexible spending always goes down to 0. So if you want to do flexible spending or the dependent care, you always got to redo those. Reminder that voluntary insurance is just extra insurance, so it'll pay you out for, like, there's an accident one. So in my case, like I said, my daughter tore ACL. I think we've got throughout the whole process over like $1,000 worth of benefits paid out to us. Grand total for the year was a little over $200. So it was worth it. Wish I wasn't in that situation, but we were, and it was worth it to have it. There is 2 others on there that you can select from. If you're in the hospital and admitted, and then another one is critical illness. So if you need those, take advantage of those. There's also an Alight Benefits Pro, and Lee, I know you were at a healthcare benefits meeting. Do you want to explain what that's supposed to do?
From what they told us, It's to help you out, whether it's to schedule appointments, get cheaper prescriptions, any of those types of things. Really, they said it's pretty in depth on a lot of the things you can do. So, from what they told us, you can call this Benefits Pro, and if you need to find a doctor, it can find you a doctor in your area, or like I said, if you need a procedure done, it's supposed to be able to find the cheapest procedure in the area you're going to be. So they say it's a very good plan. As it rolls out, we'll see if there's some hiccups with it. There usually is. So if you do have issues with it, please call down to the hall and at least let us know so we can document it, help the next person out that has an issue on better ways to deal with it. So.
Yeah, but it's a benefit to you, but it's not just like healthcare benefits. There's a wide number of things they're supposed to be able to help you with. So if you're probably looking for something, be a good idea to just reach out and call them. That phone number is 866-243-1164. Maybe extension 2943, but I did not see that on my email with it.
And I just wonder, I kind of went on the Alight website to look at that, so I don't know if when you go on there it assigns a new benefit pro representative to help with your issue. So that was the one that I saw.
So third level grievance answers are back. We're sorting through them. Committeemen should be getting them out to the departments, I'm guessing next week. Vacation schedule process has started. I believe most everybody should be picking actual vacations for next year already. So we'll be monitoring that, helping where we need to, making sure that process rolls along as we head to hopefully have everybody done by early December. Voting's just around the corner. It'll actually be the last podcast before the
Election?
The last one before the last one before the election. Endorse candidates, so that's union endorsements for candidates. That's been in the forerunner for the last couple weeks, and so has the Illinois voting requirements. And a reminder that if you're in Illinois and you need to leave the plant early to vote in person, that you need to give 24-hour notice to the company, and then they will let you leave at 5 p.m. in order to go vote, and that is not paid. Lee, you want to talk about the Workers' Rights Amendment?
Yeah. Illinois residents, you guys have a pretty important issue that's on the ballot this time. The Workers' Rights Amendment will be on there, and with that amendment will essentially make it to where Illinois cannot get right to work in. So it's very important. We encourage people to vote yes on that, and make that happen.
Reminder, retirees, if you need issues, or anybody if you need help. Office manager Dan, he's here from 6:30 to 2:30 Monday through Friday. Like you said, he handles mostly the retirement issues. If it's an active person, most likely he'll shoot those questions or issues onto us, but he is here, and he is a resource for you guys. Lee, I'm lost on whether or not, I think we talked about free college, but just in case, I guess
I'll say it one more time. So a week or two ago, I got an email pretty much on the status of the free college benefit. As of right now, and I think they're dealing with them in the courts, the Department of Education has pretty much put a stop to the free college benefits. So as of right now, you may not get your college free. It's going to depend on incomes and things like that on how much you'll get off and the typical stuff. So if you do have questions, what they're doing, they're encouraging everyone to call the colleges that they're going to, and I have the list here. So if anyone has any questions on who they need to call, please call down to the hall and ask for me, and I can actually forward you the email that gives the total information and the phone numbers.
Reminder, the Soar Chili Supper is December 2nd from 12 noon till 5 p.m. Oh, I thought the Joke Meister might come in there.
Nope. I'm good. I was just reading what you're doing.
Yeah.
I can make some jokes if you like. I did have to put my coat on in here. It was a little chilly.
Yeah. So I knew you had something.
See
in
that? I mean, that's what you should have came out with.
Well, sorry you had to ask.
A real joke meister. You wouldn't have to
Yeah.
ask if you read.
Joke Meister.
Lob up these softballs for the
Right.
Joke Meister.
Right?
Sorry, I didn't mean to let you down, Roy.
Sleeping over there. If you're, and after the chili supper on December 2nd, on December 3rd, we will be having another bingo event here at the hall for charity, Civil and Human Rights Group. We'll be putting that on. Doors are open at 12:30, and the bingoing will start at 1.
Bingoing.
It's pretty funny. I like that.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah.
It is. Let me think about this. I'm gonna have to look. Anyway, we're gonna be doing it by cards. Call the hall 355-1181 and reserve your spot. There'll be more information coming out here whenever we have the next one.
Bingo.
Thanks, Shawn.
You're welcome.
Winterization at the plant is ongoing. I believe here real quick they're gonna have everything shut up.
Yeah,
so,
I believe it's next week is when they're really.
Yeah, and I think this is really gearing up to
Yep.
be like some of the last good weekend and that. So they're doing good over the last 2-3 years with their shutdowns.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Cold.
That's all I got.
What's cooler than being cool, Shawn?
What song is that?
Ice cold.
Ice Cold.
Yeah. It's Outcast, man.
That's right. Roy 3000.
Thanks, Shawn.
He didn't know. They didn't play that in
Here we go.
Cape Girardeau.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Where's the crickets? You see,
Right.
you don't
He's
cricket.
not on the
late.
ball today.
No.
He's off his game
You made him mad.
from the beginning, yeah.
It's warming up in here now. It's not so
Right,
chilly.
right.
He's gonna need to take his jacket off.
I got to winterize myself.
A reminder, the Nathaniel Payne Memorial Scholarship, we're taking applications for that. Deadline is December 9th. And everybody should have got their letter in the mail from the company, from plant manager Steve Jennings. So you should have gotten that for your turkey ham or your fruit basket.
Yeah.
What do you usually get, Lee?
Turkey.
What do you get, Shawn?
Turkey. You?
See, my wife gets something too, so sometimes we do the fruit basket because she gets a ham or turkey.
She's got a big enough ham at home with you.
Man.
Wow.
When,
That's all I got.
I know we turned it on,
Really-
but,
really
but
reaching.
I know we turned it on, but how do we turn it off?
I don't know. We'll just pull the plug. I want to mention one thing. I don't think we got it on here. Is we're Next Gen's having a poker tournament on November 11th. It is Veterans Day, so in honor of veterans, any veteran that shows proof will get a free buyback. So doors open at 6 o'clock, and the poker starts at 7. So I encourage management. I know we got a lot of questions about whether management can play. So this is open to anybody, open to the public. So please, salary, hourly, whatever, come and play. It goes towards the Christmas basket fund. So we did have our first meeting for Christmas baskets. So be on the lookout for that. We'll be ramping up here in the next month or so.
All right. Let's take a break so I can straighten out this microphone so it quits wobbling.
The princess.
Can't work like this, guys. I mean, give me my microphone, right? While we take this break, it'd be a good time to play our interview with Nick Avgerinos and Rocco Motto, two work comp attorneys from Avgerinos and Capon. the attorney office up in Chicago. They're going to talk to us about work comp and some best practices and go over kind of the situation our members get put in. Back after the interview. All right, Nick Avgerinos. How'd I do?
Good,
I
very
always
close.
ask.
Avgerinos, that's good.
And Rocco Motto.
That's right.
Okay, got that one right. All right, I don't want to offend anybody.
Never.
At the same time, it's a challenge.
Not a problem.
Yeah, got a good relationship with you guys. You guys stopped by the hall today to see if we needed anything on the work comp front, and also give us some news if there was any on work comp. So appreciate you guys stopping by, and appreciate you taking time to talk with us so we can get some knowledge to our members.
Glad you can have us.
All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and start. Rocco, you had mentioned when we were talking earlier about the importance of when somebody's, let me see if I get this right, when somebody's claim either starts or when the importance of, let's say, tracking and writing and taking notes starts, and the importance of when people start to do that. It's not when they reach out to you, but at the beginning of right when they get injured.
Right, yeah. So your case, if you end up having a case, it starts as soon as that injury happens. And it's so important to create a paper trail, starting with your employer and then working up with the company doctor, or if it ends up being the treating doctor. Letting the company doctor know what happened, how it happened, when it happened, and the type of position that you currently do. Whether it's an acute injury or repetitive trauma or cumulative trauma, it's important to let that doctor know exactly how the injury occurred and what exactly you're feeling, including any symptoms that you've experienced related to the subject injury.
So, I mean, would you say then, like, the most important thing and one of the best pieces of advice that we can give anybody is, as soon as you get hurt, start documenting and start taking notes?
Absolutely. A lot of the times people think, it's just a strain, it's going to go away. But sometimes that strain doesn't go away and then turns into something that's really, really bad. You're not going to harm yourself if you report it and nothing ends up happening. But you're going to shoot yourself in the foot if you don't report it and something significant happens down the road. So report it as soon as you can and make a record of it.
Okay. All right. We had you guys down here or in here when we were talking, and we said, most of the time what we see, somebody gets hurt out there, they get some treatment, a little bit of treatment, they get an x-ray, there's arthritis on the x-ray, and well, now it's a personal condition, and they end up denying their claim. When somebody gets to that juncture, what would you guys say is the person's next steps? What should they be doing next?
There are a couple of different ways of answering that question. It depends to some extent on whether the individual is continuing to experience symptoms. So if the person is improving and they feel like they can continue to do their regular job, they may want to. Maybe they want to let it go and see if things, resurface, get worse over time. They don't have to wait too terribly long to find out, but maybe they want to let it go and see what happens. If at the same time, if the condition is a problem, if they remain quite symptomatic and they haven't experienced any improvement, then the option is to go back to the company, say it's not going away. If the company says, no, it's denied, it's a personal condition, then we go into the next phase, which is whether or not the injured worker wants to seek medical care on his or her own, which is then their right. Up until that point, they had to stay with a company-selected physician, but once the claim is denied, Iowa law is clear that the injured worker has the right to go seek medical care on his or her own. Now, as to whether they want to do that, again, depends on the severity of the injury, or I should say the symptoms. The best thing to do at that point, if they want to pursue it, would be to reach out to their own personal medical doctor, give a history, as Rocco indicated, of how the injury occurred and what their job responsibilities and job duties are. What are they doing when they're noticing these problems? How did the symptoms arise in the first place? The doctor might say, I want to refer you to a specialist for further workup and evaluation. That becomes a little bit of an issue if the doctor or the clinic to whom your personal medical doctor wants to send you is the same doctor that the employer had sent you to outside of the medical staff within Arconic.
Okay.
If it's the same facility, then that could be a bit of a problem, and that's something we would need to talk to the member about. It may be unlikely that the specialist or the clinic where the specialists are located would want to have you seen by somebody else in their clinic. That may not be realistic. At that point, it then becomes an issue as to whether or not you want to go out of town. And that is another issue altogether, because that gets into distance and traveling and time off and those sorts of things.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. If they send you to, like, let's just say it's ORA, they send you to ORA while they're treating you, and then your personal, and then after you're all said and done, and they say it's a denial, you go to your doctor, and your doctor sends you to ORA. Most likely, they don't like to contradict themselves once one of their staff makes a decision. So
I would agree with that.
yeah, you're in a little bit of a bind there.
Yes. So then you're looking at other clinics in the area, of which there are few. And so that gets you into the travel situation. The other important thing to keep in mind is if your doctor gives you some work restrictions, those restrictions may not be honored by the employer. The employer at that point may choose to tell you, we can't accommodate you with these restrictions, and we're not going to let you back into the plant. Now what are you going to do? Now all of a sudden you have no wages. You're not going to get workers' comp benefits because it's a denied claim, which then means you have to start looking at your short-term disability benefits, or let's call them in the broader sense, non-occupational benefits.
Right.
Then you have to make the decision on a personal level whether you want to go down that road or not. And that is something we really need to flesh out with a person when they call us to talk about it. What are the ramifications if you go that route? What if you can't get back into the plant? What if your doctor wants to maintain you on these restrictions? It's not to mean down the road we don't end up filing, or you don't end up filing a work comp claim with the Iowa Workers' Comp Commissioner. It doesn't mean that you don't get a hearing, that the matter doesn't get litigated. It will. And at some point it will be determined whether or not this condition that you are continue to suffer from is work-related, and whether the company should have been covering it as a work-related claim. You can win that, but the issue is, the question is, at what cost and over what period of time? And those are things we need to talk to the person about on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, that's what we've seen a lot of, and I always say it's good and bad news. Okay, they denied your claim with the company. You can go see your doctor. You're in control now. You can get the adequate care you're probably going to be comfortable with now. At the same time, if you have to miss work, you're either, is it something that's going to be covered by short-term disability? Is it FMLA? And at that point in time, the real hardship is back on the individual, because that usually comes at some sort of a price, whether it's wages. Under our policies, they can take all but a week of your vacation if you call off FMLA and you use FMLA. So that, like you said, Nick, it's good news, but then it also creates a hardship for the individual.
The person may get the medical care they want, but that starts going into another area. Now all of a sudden you have a situation where, unlike with the work comp system where the employer pays all of the bills, now you may be looking at co-pays and deductibles and balances. Now, the law in Iowa indicates that if a claim is filed with the commissioner's office, if you have a litigated claim, let's call it, a contested case, as they say, then there can be no debt collection proceedings initiated by a medical provider or collection agencies to recover or to obtain payment on those bills or debts while the case is pending. So you can foreclose that, but at the same time, you're getting into issues of medical bills that are piling up.
Yep.
People in the back of their mind or in the front of their mind are seeing that they have these bills, and are they going to be responsible for paying them or some of them, and get stuck with the co-pays and deductibles and so forth, which again is something you have to talk to the person about and let them know, what are you in store for. You don't want to get the situation where they're saying, well, you didn't tell me, or it wasn't disclosed to me, or I didn't read the fine print.
Right.
Well, we are the fine print. We want to be able to let you know that if you do this, this could happen. If you do this, this could happen. And some of it's very positive, and some of it is potentially problematic for you. And you just have to be able to know what you're getting into. And if you have a family at home, your family needs to know what you're getting into. And so that's how I see it.
Yeah, and just know if we do proceed to a hearing, those bills are going to be presented at hearing. Those co-pays, those out-of-pocket expenses are going to get entered into evidence, and if successful, they are going to get repaid.
And Rocco, you brought up, so we're going kind of in a timeline here of, you get hurt at work, and work says, well, it's this personal issue, we're gonna deny your claim. Now we're to the part where you're most likely, as long as you still got the effects of that injury, you're seeking treatment. During that treatment, your doctor says, well, I really don't think this has anything to do with the arthritis that was presented on your x-ray. I believe it has to do more like what the person would describe as their workplace injury.
Sure.
Rocco, what was your advice at that particular time, what somebody should do?
Yeah, at that early stage, I would recommend that the employee obtain a copy of the medical records from their doctor, bring it back to the company doctor, and let them decide whether or not they want to reevaluate and start treatment and make this an accepted work comp case. That's something that I would highly recommend they do. Give the employer an opportunity to start treatment once again.
Okay. Then if the employer still says no, well, we're going to continue and say it is denied, what should they be doing after that? Then just continue with the care that their treating physician advises, and then when should they be reaching out to you? Should they be reaching out to you throughout the process? And if so, like I said, after they get that, let's say, second denial,
Yeah.
What should they be doing?
Yeah, like Nick indicated earlier, each case is going to be different. But we would prefer that you contact us as soon as possible. And that's not because, we want you to sign up as a client. We want to guide you through the process as much as we can, and provide as much information, because once you start the paper trail now, we're able to understand your case at the very beginning step and follow you through it all the way to the end. And if need be, if you need our services, then we're more than happy to take it at a standpoint to where we understand what's happening with your case and we're current with it. Not at a point where you reached MMI and now we have no idea what your medical treatment was before that.
And then I'd also want to, there's been times people said, hey, I got my treatment, everything was fine, or maybe, it was somewhat satisfactory, and they get a check. Now I've advised people, hey, give those guys a call. Nick or Rocco, give them a call. They're going to help you out. They're not going to take any money from you. They're just going to they're going to tell you honestly. They can either help you or they can't. Around that check and that time period, I'm looking for some advice from you guys. Should they most certainly not cash the check right away? Should they reach out to you guys? And then again, just for you guys to talk a little bit about, hey, we're willing to do all this other stuff. We're willing to follow you, or we're willing to make suggestions at no cost to you. And then, further down the road, if you need us, we'll that's a different story.
So I think a misconception that arises with a lot of individuals is that if they have an accepted claim and they've completed treatment, they've reached maximum medical improvement, they then get the impairment rating, Under Iowa law, if there is a rating, the employer is obligated to pay money to them representing what the impairment rating is. It's not an offer of settlement. That's the distinction. They're not offering you anything. They are required by law to pay you the money that represents the impairment rating once they get the rating. So if they get a check, odds are there's no specific endorsement on the back of the check. They're going to get a paper check. As far as I know, they're not getting electronic payments that represent the impairment rating because the check is going to come from either the third-party administrator of the work comp insurance company. It's going to come from an entity that is going to send you this check, and then you're going to look on the back of it and see if it says anything that's funny. It probably won't, because it's a voluntary payment of benefits, and by accepting the payment, you are not settling the case. Okay? You shouldn't have to sign anything. In fact, I wouldn't sign anything at all. It's a voluntary payment. It's a tax-free payment, so you're not going to get a, whatever it is, 1099, or it's not going to show up as income because it's not considered income.
Okay.
With that said, I wouldn't, just based on what I'm saying right now, go ahead and run to the bank and cash it, or do your mobile deposit, or whatever you want to do. Call us.
Yeah.
I'll probably tell you to, you're going to talk to me, you can talk to Rocco, take a photo of the front and the back of the check and send it over to us. Is there a letter that came with it? There should be a letter of explanation from the insurance company explaining what I'm talking about, that it's a voluntary payment. Here's the impairment rating. That impairment rating represents X number of weeks at this workers' comp rate per week, and here's the check, and it's 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000, whatever the amount is. We'll want that letter, we'll want a copy of the check, and we'll also want a copy of that final evaluation from the doctor that included that impairment rating, which should be included with a letter that the work comp insurance company sends you. There should be those three things, I would say at a minimum, but at a minimum. And those are the things we're going to ask them for.
Okay.
So if they're calling us to talk about it, that's great, but we're not going to have an answer for them unless they can produce those things for us. We certainly don't want to be giving off-the-hip answers over the phone to certain questions like that that could be potentially a problem. And with that check, they still have the right to go get this independent medical examination, which we haven't really talked about here yet. They have the right to get another opinion on the rating at the employer's expense with a doctor of their own choice. And then they have a certain period of time after the payment from the work comp insurance company within which to file a claim with the Iowa Work Comp Commissioner if it ever gets to that point.
Okay.
And one note about that check: if you receive a check and there's no explanation, get an explanation. We see it far too often that a client will receive a check and they have no idea what the check represents. Get an explanation. It's needed. It's necessary.
Yeah.
Would you say that it's very important for somebody to reach out to an attorney at that point in time with the check and possibly and the impairment rating, because wouldn't you guys be the experts on, hey, if it's a hand injury, hey, I would suggest you go see this doctor for your other or alternate exam or for your second opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. As Nick alluded to, once you are placed at MMI, your rights then kick in to get a independent medical examination paid by the insurance company if the case is accepted. And at that period, that doctor of our choosing is able to evaluate you under the AMA Guides, 5th edition, and he's going to provide an impairment rating, which can be different from the treating doctor's impairment rating. And seeing that initial report that you received, we're going to be able to know right from the beginning whether or not that impairment rating was low. And if we do think it is low, then the IME doctor is going to be able to correct that.
Yeah, and that's a good point. At that point, we're usually called upon by the prospective client or by the member to decide whether we want to get involved. Because at that point, there's a lot of, there's work that needs to be done, and it's almost more time efficient if we're doing that, as opposed to, well, you're gonna have to send a letter to the doctor explaining all the questions you want answered, you can't expect people to know what questions to ask the doctor. You're gonna have to have all of the medical records probably organized in some fashion.
Yeah.
And at that point, we basically say, hey, look, we think that this rating is low enough based on the range of ratings that the guidelines call for this kind of a injury and condition, that we think we think that we can do better. And not just a little better, maybe much better. But to do that, it's best if we direct traffic at this point and take it over. And if we can't do any better, it's not going to cost you any money.
I remember a conversation with you, Nick, I believe, and you said you really got to be careful on what doctors you use and what you tell them you need, because it may not be the exact thing you need. And then it's better for you guys as the experts to, like you said, you guys need to direct that traffic because you know what needs to be done, you know what needs to be documented, and us, we don't know that.
Yeah, and to that point, a lot of the workers will contact the insurance company and say, well, I heard I'm entitled to a second opinion. Well, the second opinion is really the impairment rating. It's not for medical treatment. There is no automatic right to a second opinion for medical treatment in Iowa. So it's probably a good time to raise that distinction now. That can only be given to the worker if the employer agrees, or if the treating doctor wants to make a referral to another doctor. But there is no automatic right to a second opinion for treatment. There is an automatic right to another opinion as an independent medical exam to get another impairment rating. So the example that you've raised that Rocco was talking about is you have to have the right doctor to give the rating. Certain doctors might, we think from our experience, might be a little bit more better suited to examine this kind of a condition. There's certain doctors that are shoulder specialists, and we might use them on a shoulder claim. Costs vary between doctors, but none of them is inexpensive. They're reviewing the records, and there's several $1,000s. So a lot of times the injured worker will go to the insurance company and say, look, I'm entitled to this second opinion. What they mean is another opinion on the rating. They'll then kind of defer to the insurance company to set it up, and you don't want to go that route. It's the path of least resistance for the worker, because you're just putting it in somebody else's hand. Perhaps you trust them, perhaps you don't want to put the time in, and that's all of us. Sometimes if we can, go that route, we don't want to do it. But by doing that, you're allowing the insurance company to select the doctor, which we would not want to have done, and you're also allowing them to craft the letter that's going to go to the doctor, asking the questions that we're talking about. So we don't want to relinquish control over that part of the process. We want to maintain control over that process so that they do come to us. The rating is really low. Rocco tells them that we think that we can help you. If you want us, you can retain us. And then we'll go ahead, we'll get the records, we'll do the letter, and then we'll handle the negotiations, and we'll get the case resolved. Because even once the individual gets if they were doing it on their own, they'd get the report, they'd have another rating, but they wouldn't, now what do I do with it would be the question. Mm-hmm. Well, what should be a fair resolution, It's, hey, I guess that's the secret sauce of the process, right? I mean, that's the art of this, if there is an art or a science. I don't know which it is, but
sure,
because there's trade-offs. What are you willing to give up to get a few more dollars? The insurance company may say, let's close your medical. Yeah, we'll give you a little bit more money, but we want you to close your medical. And then we would have to have that talk. Well, this is what the doctor's saying in this record, this report. A lot of times the individuals aren't aware of what the doctor is specifically recommending. They might just tell them that during the office meeting, but the records themselves might have some recommendations or thoughts about future medical care, or perhaps a deterioration of the condition over time, things like that. So maybe they don't want to give up any their medical care just to get a few more dollars.
Right. Yeah, the entire duration of your work injury, the employer is controlling the medical treatment. So the last thing you want to do is ask that adjuster who's been controlling the medical treatment, where should I go for my IME? You don't want to do that. That's your time. That's your time to seek a different opinion. So don't go back to the adjuster.
Yeah, with it's the work comp treatment here in Iowa, or what we got for a law is so slided with the company. You don't want to put even more into their favor.
It's a conflict. It's a clear conflict.
All right. Yeah, you did. By the way, you did great, because I was thinking about the way I did that question, and it was all over and very open ended. So you did a good job answering it with what I wanted you to do, Nick. So thanks.
Welcome.
I get that's really about all I had. We did for you guys. If there's anything else, open it up to you. If not,
I would just re-emphasize what Rocco mentioned right off the bat, which is the history of the injury or the history of the development of the symptoms is key. They have to include some, if there is some contribution from the work, that has to be mentioned. If that is the history, then it has to be mentioned. You can't not mention it and then come back later and get a mulligan on that. I want to try and do it over and get an opinion from a doctor on whether it is or isn't work related, when the doctor's looking at the records and say there's no mention of work. Of course, if work isn't contributing to it, then you don't mention it. You have to be honest. But if it is contributing to it, then it has to be mentioned. What the person does for a living, the amount of repetition, lifting, pushing, pulling, climbing, lifting, squatting, and so forth, all of those physical demands have to be identified, because it really narrows it down. It makes it harder to get a denial of a claim if the work is the contributing factor, or a contributing factor, or a substantial contributing factor, as is the case in Iowa.
okay, all right, good. We'll make sure we get that to our committeemen and make sure that if we happen to be up in medical with people, we'll be saying, hey, we need to mention this. So it's in your record and it's a part of your record. So we'll pass that on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Again, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for always picking up the phone when our members call, and
Always.
Giving them advice. For a lot of probably the majority of the time, it's free, and I mean it's reassuring for them and reassuring for us that they can reach out to experts like you guys and get an opinion.
We can communicate with them, of course, over the phone. We come to the hall when needed. We're available to meet with them via Zoom, and any other way that they want to communicate.
Yeah, even if it's not a lingering work comp issue, if you have a legal issue, whether it's personal injury or outside of what we specifically practice, we'll make sure we put you in the right hands.
Oh, that's nice to know.
All right. Well, thank you guys, and have a safe trip back home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right, back after the break. Fixed our technical difficulties.
Yeah.
It's better now.
And apparently I'm the princess, Mike Nicholas.
Oh, Mike's back.
We act like a princess over there.
Yeah. Update from the bake sale raised over $2,567 for the Susan G. Komen breast cancer awareness. So
And that's how the cookie crumbles.
yeah, crumbled a lot for
Did.
$2,567.
That's a lot of dough. Duh!
There you go.
Thank you.
I think that's a yearly joke,
There you go.
right? See, I hear that every year, I think.
Yeah.
Update the lunch table, or it would be the dinner table. The one in the evening is going to open up at 5:30 from now on. So, no, we had some issues with some managers saying, hey, if you're in here at 6 o'clock, we don't care. You're not going to go up there. You're supposed to be working. So if you do need to get something and you want to take advantage of the lunch table and you're on a shift that starts at 6 p.m., just come to work a little bit early and go pick up food there and not have any issues with getting it. Lee, do you So you got that front page. You want to talk about? Yep, the veterans
Yep.
piece.
So on November 11th, those veterans that are working that day, Arconic's going to buy your meal at the lunch table. So what barbecue will be serving? If you plan to participate in this, they're asking that you contact lyle.anderson@arconic.com or robert.bartholomew@arconic.com by October 31st. And the reason they want this to happen so that they know how much to bring. So this is for lunch or dinner. So it's a nice way to thank our vets. So you will need to have a copy of DD-214 or some kind of ID to show proof. So
yeah, if you're working day shift, go get your free lunch and then come down and play poker.
yeah. And what barbecue's good too. Good food.
All right. I think that is most of that. So a reminder that, speaking about voting and knowing that's coming up, elections have consequences. Reminder that in Iowa that nearly 180 public sector unions had to recertify. So they had to vote to keep their union. So nothing was wrong, just something that they have to do and waste money doing it for recertification. That happens all the time. A reminder when they did do that if if you don't vote, it's a no vote or a vote for the company or the public sector union, or vote for the public sector to take away your union. So anyway, reminder there.
Yeah, that's called union busting, just so you know.
Other topics of elections have consequences. There is a court case, or a case making its way through the courts, of Glacier Northwest Incorporated versus International Brotherhood of Teamsters Local Union Number 174. We put this on our Facebook page to let people know about it. But anyway, this Glacier is a Washington corporation that sells concrete. They are suing the Teamsters for loss of concrete or loss of money. So what it would do, or what had happened, is there was a strike. The strike began. The drivers left their trucks, but they left them running so the cement wouldn't dry out. If they would have turned off the ignition, the cement would have been unsuitable. Probably would have had to chisel all that out of the back, and would have been really bad for the company.
Yep.
It says here it could have permanently damaged trucks, but they didn't do that. They left the trucks running and they left. The company was able to dump the cement out. There was no real loss there, but the company is suing for losses or damages. And if you can imagine what that would do to labor, imagine if there'd be a strike. Deere could sue. During that strike, if we would ever go out on strike here, the company could sue the union. It would pretty much be the end of unions, I think.
Yeah.
Without the ability to strike, and without having that leverage, there's really probably no use for them.
Yeah, it would be terrible.
So that is on its way possibly to the Supreme Court. So if the Supreme Court takes that, they're usually pro-corporation, at least right now with the makeup of the Supreme Court. So may not be good if that makes it all the way there.
Yep.
So be on the lookout and for updates on that. Wow, are we done, Lee?
I think so.
Did we hit everything?
I think so.
Looking around. Oh, one other thing I forgot, that if you are out and you're on short-term disability and you're returning to work, you're going to need a doctor's note to come back. I think everybody knows that. But if you see multiple doctors for the reason you're out, it might be a good idea for you to come with return-to-work notes from each of them, just to be on the safe side. Probably if you've only seen one, the majority of the time, maybe that might be all right, but we are getting some pushback where providers up in the wellness center want multiple notes, and it could cause a delay in your return to work. So you may want to make sure if you need one or two, either ask when you make your return to work appointment or just be ready with two of them.
Yep.
Yeah, looking through what we had on here? Yeah, that looks to be about it. Hey, Shawn.
Hey, Roy. How you doing, buddy?
As good as I was when we started. Might be better when it ends.
It could
Right?
be.
It's Friday.
Where can people find us?
Well, thank you for asking. I'll let you know right now.
Okay.
You can find us on our Facebook page at Steel Revolution Podcast, USW Loco 105, the Apple Podcast app on your Apple devices, Podcast Addict for Android, the Android app, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio app, Spotify.com and Spotify app, I'm sure, YouTube, the Odyssey app, and Odyssey.com, Libsyn.com, the Locals website, and then the men's restroom here at Loco 105 in Bettendorf, Iowa.
Thanks, Shawn. That sounded like it was the second take.
It was the second
It
take.
didn't sound natural.
No.
Well, earlier.
Next time, you just got to keep on going.
Yeah.
I know, it's been one of those days.
Are you going to the Halloween parade, Shawn?
You know, I signed up for overtime.
I feel like you always have an
Yeah.
excuse to get out of the parades.
Maybe next year. Everybody loves a parade, though, right?
Yeah.
So will you give out candy? Are you the one that gives out candy, or do you walk with the kids?
I would walk with my kids and the other kids, yeah.
So your wife stays home and gives out the candy?
Oh, I thought you were talking about if I was
Oh, no,
to
I'm
help
sorry.
you.
I'm sorry.
No, it all depends who wants to do what. I don't mind handing out candy.
Do you dress up when you hand
No,
out?
I do not. No. Do you?
No. I didn't know if you dressed up like a DJ and handed out
I
candy.
don't know if you dressed up as Homer Simpson and passed out donuts. Jerk.
Jeez.
Oh, sorry, Roy.
Don't lash out.
Sorry, Roy. Yeah, had to hear that. Sorry, Lee.
Man, struck a nerve.
Do you dress up, Lee? Or Roy? You're Roy. Do you dress up, Roy?
I did years ago when the kids.
Yeah,
I did once.
Who do you dress up as?
I went as MacGruber.
Nice. He doesn't even know what that is.
Who's Miss?
It's not a
MacGruber.
movie.
Huh?
It's Saturday Night Live. It's not a movie.
Well, they made a movie.
Oh, they did make
Yeah,
a movie out
yeah.
of it.
What
yeah.
movie was that?
MacGruber.
MacGruber. It's like a.
Spin-off from MacGyver.
Oh, yeah. I know who that is, huh? Yeah. See? Leave me alone. It's a comedy. I've seen that.
So like Shawn knew what it was, and as soon as they made a movie, he's like, I don't know who that is.
That's exactly right. He's right. I don't watch a lot of movies. Sorry. Anything else you want to make fun of me
Oh,
before we
you're
leave?
all right. No. I wasn't making fun of it. I really thought you could be a DJ. I don't understand how that's not.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk around with like 2 turntables
And a microphone.
and headphones,
Yeah, just put it out in front of you.
Yeah.
It's like
like a fanny pack kind of thing, just hangs there.
no,
or
like,
what?
like
Yeah,
a
good
tray of
costume.
food.
Yeah.
That like the guys in the bleachers.
Yeah.
It's on, but you put a turntable there and a
Yeah.
microphone.
Okay, well, duly
then you-
noted for next year.
Then you just wear headphones.
Yeah.
Jeez, can we end this? I'm done. You guys are so mean.
I'm actually being serious, but
I've held back a couple times.
Oh, I appreciate that.
All right. Until next time, don't forget to say something good about your union.
Every day.
Steel Revolution is a podcast by USW Local 105, Bettendorf, Iowa.